The Las Vegas Raiders have the potential to build a strong defense, but injuries held them back last season, leaving them in the middle of the pack. Recently, they faced the challenge of losing their defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, but thankfully, he's back. As NFL free agency kicks off at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on March 12th, the Raiders are also dealing with the possibility of losing some key defensive players. Out of the 17 Raiders set to become free agents, 11 are on the defensive side. Ideally, the Raiders would want all 11 of these players to return. Having a consistent team where everyone knows their role is crucial for success. But if we're talking about which defensive players are essential for the Raiders to keep their defense strong, I'd say there are about 5 who are must-haves. First on the list is Nate "The Natural" Hobbs, the slot cornerback. From his rookie year to now, he has proven to be one of the best in the game. In today's NFL, where offenses often use 3 receiver sets, having a solid slot corner is vital. Hobbs not only has to cover receivers running tricky routes, but he also needs to tackle effectively. Since offenses frequently line up with 3 receivers and often run the ball from that formation, the slot corner has responsibilities similar to a linebacker. Hobbs excels in both areas. However, there's a concern. Hobbs has faced injuries throughout his career. A couple of years ago, he was moved to a regular corner position and performed well until he hurt his wrist, which made it tough for him to play with a cast. He has had other injuries too. Hopefully, this will lower his price a bit, but I believe he's worth the risk if the Raiders want to build a great defense in today's NFL. Having a strong slot corner is essential, and Nate Hobbs fits that role perfectly. If the Raiders can't keep him, they need to find a solid replacement. Another key player they must retain is safety Trayvon Merrick. Replacing him would be a tough task because of his unique skill set. Merrick can do it all from the safety position. He has the range to play as a single high safety, can handle split safety duties, and even step into the box to help against the run. Plus, he can blitz, which is something defensive coordinator Graham likes to do with him. Merrick is also effective in man coverage against tight ends and slot receivers. Although he started the last season a bit slowly, he quickly found his rhythm and became one of the best in the league. He recorded under 4 tackles, 12 pressures, a sack, 3 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions last season. Given his versatile skill set, he deserves a salary that ranks among the top for his position, and the Raiders should definitely consider that. I remember when he was my first-round pick for the Raiders in 2021, and I was thrilled when they managed to grab him in the 2nd round. Now, let's talk about middle linebacker Robert Spillane. The Raiders need him back for several reasons, especially because Graham runs a complex defense. Spillane is crucial for getting everyone lined up and on their assignments. But there's more to it. He's the heart and soul of the defense and sets the tone with his hard-hitting style. He's a true playmaker in every sense. Spillane excels at stopping the run and rarely misses tackles. His coverage skills are also impressive, especially in man coverage, even though Graham doesn't blitz him often. Keeping Spillane is vital for the Raiders' defensive success. When Spillane does get the chance to blitz, he makes it count. His all-around performance speaks for itself, as shown by his impressive stats from the 2024 season. He recorded 158 tackles, 13 pressures, 2 sacks, 7 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions, placing him among the league leaders in nearly every category for linebackers. The Raiders need to open their wallets and make sure they keep him. With 3 years of experience in Graham's complex defense, Spillane is even harder to replace, especially considering all the big plays he's made. Now imagine how much stronger the Raiders' defense could have been if they had Malcolm Kuhn in 2024. Unfortunately, he couldn't play at all last season due to a torn ACL. His 2023 season was underrated. He managed to rack up 8 sacks in just 9 games. Kuhn played opposite Max Crosby, but he was on the bench for the first half of the season. It wasn't until head coach Josh McDaniels was let go that interim coach Antonio Pierce put him in the starting lineup. Pierce really knew how to make the right moves, and Kuhn took full advantage of the one-on-one matchups he got because of the double teams on Crosby. If Kuhn had played the entire season, he could have easily reached the mid to high teens in sacks. Of course, he'll need to pass a physical first, but he's a must-sign for the Raiders to see what he can do alongside Crosby and Christian Wilkins. I'm confident the Raiders can work out a deal that fits both sides. Kuhn is definitely one of the more underrated players out there.
One player the Raiders absolutely need to keep is interior defensive lineman Adam Butler. He really made a name for himself in 2023 with a breakout season, finishing with 5 sacks. That's a solid number for an interior lineman, especially since not many players, like Chris Jones from the Kansas City Chiefs or Christian Wilkins from the Raiders, reach double digits in sacks. Along with those 5 sacks, Butler also recorded 31 pressures and 5 quarterback hits. He's always been a decent pass rusher, but he hadn't had a full-time role until last year because he struggled against the run. However, he made significant improvements in that area. Part of the reason Butler got the chance to play full-time was due to Wilkins' injury, but his progress in stopping the run was clear this past season. The Raiders could really benefit from his interior rush, especially with a healthy Wilkins next year when facing the Chiefs. The rest of the NFL learned in the Super Bowl just 8 days ago that the key to beating Patrick Mahomes is to pressure him. And the Raiders have known this since the 2023 season. In fact, the Eagles seem to follow the Raiders' blueprint. As you may have heard, head coach Pete Carroll's strategy is to run the ball and play strong defense. This means the Raiders need to keep their defensive players intact. You can't effectively run the ball and play defense if too many key defensive players leave in free agency. I've identified 5 players the Raiders should hold on to unless they can find star replacements. I'd also like to give an honorable mention to edge rusher K'Lavon Chaisson, who really stepped up this past year. While he's not a must-have, he could be valuable if Kuhn doesn't return. The same goes for Marcus Epps. He's on the list of players the Raiders should consider keeping, especially if Merrick and Spillane don't come back. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.